In 1875, as his diaries tell the story, Amos Owen purchased a buckskin map from a frail old man in Pea Ridge, Arkansas, in exchange for a bag of molasses, hard candy, and a gallon of Tennessee white mule. The old-timer claimed it was a map to Spanish treasure buried north of the White River. Amos and his wife, Sarah, along with their daughters, Grace and Hannah, and their newborn son, James, followed the map into Missouri. Sarah's diary entry notes, "We found a beautiful little valley, and I think we found our home." The Owens settled into trying to scratch out a living in the rugged Ozark Hills, even as Amos started excavating the opening of what appeared to be a long-abandoned mine. In the summer of 1885, the Springfield Herald reported strange lights being seen in the area. Locals began referring to the mysterious lights as foxfire or spook lights. These stories soon became part of Ozark folklore. Sarah writes, "The more we work, the stranger things are becoming out here. We've found that we can work at night. The trees, the creek, even the rocks give off a light like I have never seen. We've set up an outpost with supplies so we can stay nearby. Just walking to the mine seems to give us new energy." Amos's last diary entry, dated December 21st, 1885, tells a tale. "Today we found what seems to be a silver metal door, hard like iron, but unlike any metal I know of. The treasure must be behind this door, and tonight, with the blessing, we'll find it." So, on this frigid winter solstice eve in 1885, the Owen family was certain that their hardscrabble lives were about to change. Did Amos use black powder to blast it open? His neighbors certainly seemed to think something extraordinary had happened, reporting loud explosions and brilliant flashes of color that lit up the night. Wash Hembry, who was out hunting possum that evening, later told the Springfield Herald, "Stars were falling from the sky, the earth was shaken, and I was waiting for Angel Gabriel to blow his horn." As dawn broke, Hembry made his way to the Owen property to check on his reclusive neighbors. What he found defied explanation. The Owen Ranch, indeed, looked as if the stars had descended. Trees were down, and their homestead was destroyed. There was no sign of the Owens. They had vanished. Sheriff Ike Combs finally arrived from Forsyth to investigate and confirm that the family had indeed disappeared. He placed a heavy chain across the road leading to the ranch and secured it with an iron padlock. With the road chained shut and the ranch abandoned, the mystery of the Owen family's disappearance gradually faded into local legend. For more than a century, no one ventured onto the property. The deed eventually passed to Amos's well-to-do sister, Alma, a Boston socialite, and later to her great-grandson, Travis Sunday, and with him, a new generation of exploration would begin. Using his family's wealth and his advanced education in physics, Travis lived as a vagabond, setting out to explore the world's mysteries. While visiting Peru to measure the great stone walls of Cusco, he met the beautiful Maria Elena, a local archaeologist. Together, they spent the next decade studying the science and mystery behind strange phenomena in some of the world's most remote places. Travis and Maria were intrigued by the property and the diary that came with it. They eventually moved, along with their children, Liam and Maya, to the Owen Ranch, the present-day site of Ozark Nights. Once there, they dedicated their lives to studying the mysterious phenomena that still seemed to blanket the entire property. Though they were not the hermits the Owen family had been, they chose not to share their discoveries with the outside world, fearing they would not be believed. For 5 years, the team carefully documented every unusual occurrence reported on the ranch. Rather than relying on folklore or eyewitness testimony alone, they approached the property as any scientific investigation should, with observation, measurement, and repeatable testing. Infrared thermographic cameras were used to search for unexplained temperature variations across the landscape, while ground-penetrating radar scanned beneath the surface for buried structures, hidden voids, or other geological anomalies that might help explain the legends surrounding the property. Radio frequency spectrum analyzers continuously monitored the air waves for unusual electromagnetic activity, and a range of other specialized instruments recorded environmental conditions around the clock. Ground-penetrating radar and thermal imaging are widely used in legitimate archaeological and geophysical investigations because they allow researchers to study what lies beneath the surface without disturbing the ground. The goal wasn't to prove the supernatural. It was to determine whether the strange reports surrounding the Owen Ranch had a measurable, scientific explanation, or whether they pointed to something that conventional methods could not easily explain. Whether viewed as science, folklore, or something in between, the investigation marked the first time the property's mysteries had been examined with modern technology, rather than speculation alone. And when the study was finally complete, the Sundays believed it was time for others to experience the ranch for themselves. Their plan was not only to publish what they had learned, but also to open the old Owen Ranch to the public, inviting visitors to walk the same trails, explore the same landscape, and decide for themselves what, if anything, makes Ozark nights unlike any other place in the Ozarks. The Owen Ranch is only one chapter in the Ozarks' long history of unexplained discoveries. Decades later, another chance encounter unfolded deep in the Arkansas wilderness. It began not with a paranormal investigation or a local legend, but with a routine land survey that took an unexpected turn. In the autumn of 1933, a surveyor named Clement Voss was mapping timber boundaries in the Ozark Highlands of Newton County, Arkansas. He had been hired by a lumber company that had recently acquired logging rights to roughly 4,000 acres of second-growth oak and hickory. It was routine work, following ridgelines, confirming property markers, and documenting boundary lines. By then, Voss had spent more than a decade surveying the Ozarks and knew the rugged terrain well. While working along the eastern slopes above the Buffalo River watershed, he ran into a common problem. A survey marker that had been placed during an earlier survey in 1911 was missing. Markers often disappeared over time, buried beneath fallen trees, disturbed by wildlife, or lost during logging operations. To relocate it, Voss began searching the surrounding area in a careful, methodical pattern. That search had led him into a shallow limestone hollow, hidden beneath thick cedar growth. From the ridgeline above, the depression was almost impossible to notice. The hollow measured roughly 60 feet across, enclosed on three sides by limestone walls rising between 20 and 30 feet. The ground was dry, blanketed with cedar needles, but one detail immediately caught his attention. The air inside the hollow was noticeably colder than the surrounding forest, a temperature change that often suggested the presence of underground passages or deep cave systems. As was his habit, Voss recorded the unusual feature in his field notes, but it wasn't the cool air that became the most remarkable part of his report. Built into the western limestone wall at ground level was an iron door. It stood just over 6 feet tall and about 3 feet wide, fitted inside a heavy iron frame. Years of exposure had covered both the frame and the door in thick rust, blending them so completely with the surrounding rock that Voss later admitted he had nearly walked past them without noticing. This wasn't the light surface rust commonly seen on abandoned equipment. Based on his experience working with iron survey tools in the Ozarks, he believed the corrosion had taken decades to form. The door showed no visible lock or identifying marks. 3 large iron hinges secured it to the frame, while a solid horizontal handle sat on the right-hand side. Voss tested the handle once, but the door didn't move. Whether it had rusted shut or had been deliberately sealed, he couldn't tell. Instead of forcing it open, he did what any careful surveyor would do. He measured it, sketched its appearance in his field book, noted its exact location, and continued searching for the missing survey marker. He found the marker less than 40 yards away, completed his assignment, and filed his report 2 weeks later. Near the bottom of the 3rd page, however, he added a brief handwritten note that would outlive the rest of the document. "There is an iron door in the west." wall of a sink hollow at this bearing from corner 4, which appears to have been there for considerably longer than anyone now living. The company that employed Clement Voss in 1933 was the Millard Brothers Timber Corporation, a family-owned lumber business based in Harrison, Arkansas. The company had been involved in the Ozark timber industry since the 1890s, maintaining detailed records of its land surveys, timber rights, and property boundaries. When the corporation dissolved in 1961, its records passed through 2 corporate reorganizations before much of the collection was transferred to the Arkansas History Commission in Little Rock. Among the archived materials was Voss's survey of Newton County, filed under Township 18 North, Range 21 West. The survey was officially cataloged in 1962 and listed in the Commission's index alongside hundreds of other land surveys from the region. For years, nothing about the file appeared unusual. Then, in 1979, a researcher requested Voss's original survey. Archive staff confirmed that the document was listed in the catalog and should have been available. But when the storage box containing Newton County surveys from that period was retrieved, the 1933 Voss report was gone. The box was correctly labeled and the surrounding records were intact, yet the survey itself was missing. Repeated searches failed to locate it. As of the last documented inquiry in 2004, the original report had still not been recovered. Only one page survived. It was the 3rd page of Voss's survey, the same page that contained the handwritten marginal note describing the iron door. Unlike the rest of the report, this page had apparently remained in Voss's personal possession. After his death in 1951, it passed to his daughter, Margaret Voss. When Margaret died in 1978, the document was inherited by her son, Dale Voss, a postal worker in Springdale, Arkansas. In 1994, after discovering the page inside a manila envelope containing several of his grandfather's surveying papers, Dale donated the collection to a local history archive in Rogers, Arkansas. The archive had been collecting historical material related to the Ozarks, and Voss's surviving page became part of its permanent collection. It remains there today. More than 90 years after Clement Voss first wrote the note, the ink has faded, but the handwritten words are still clearly legible. The obvious question is who built an iron door into a limestone hollow in Newton County, Arkansas, and for what purpose? To this day, there is no definitive answer. Newton County remained one of the most isolated parts of the Ozarks long after the American Civil War. Although settlers gradually established farms and homesteads throughout the late 19th century, the region's rugged terrain kept many communities cut off from one another. Much of what happened in its forests, ridges, and hidden hollows was never recorded. Several explanations have been suggested over the years. Some believe the structure may have been an old root cellar, built into the limestone to take advantage of the naturally cool temperatures. Others have proposed it was a powder magazine left behind during the Ozarks mining boom of the 1880s, or perhaps a storm shelter constructed by an early homesteader before the land was abandoned. Each theory sounds reasonable, until you look more closely. A root cellar is built to be found by its owner. Even after decades of neglect, its purpose is usually recognizable. The same is true of storm shelters and mining structures. Yet the feature Clement Voss described revealed nothing except a weathered iron door set into solid limestone. Then there was the rust. Voss spent years working with iron surveying equipment and knew exactly how it weathered under Ozark conditions. He understood what years of exposure looked like and what decades looked like. Whatever he found in that hollow appeared considerably older than anything he normally encountered in the field. Even so, he never tried to explain it. He simply documented what he saw, filed his report, and left behind a single handwritten note that would outlast the report itself. Who built the door, and what, if anything, was waiting behind it? Some mysteries fade because they're solved. Others endure because the evidence is incomplete. The witnesses are gone, and the landscape quietly keeps its secrets. Whether the Iron Door was nothing more than a forgotten piece of Ozark history, or the entrance to something far more unusual, may never be known. But nearly a century after Clement Voss first recorded his discovery, the question remains just as compelling as it was in 1933. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed exploring this mystery, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who enjoys historical mysteries and forgotten places. And if you have your own theory about the Iron Door hidden somewhere in the Ozarks, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. Until next time, thank you for staying with us.